Hello, and welcome to On the Edge of Entertainment, where I invite my friends from Las Vegas and from around the globe to discuss things about showbiz. Today, I have Jennifer Lier. She's an amazing, talented performer, and she also runs an incredible business. Everybody, welcome Jennifer Lier. Well,
All right.
hi, Jennifer Lear. Welcome to On the Edge of Entertainment. How are you?
I'm excellent, Cody. Thank you so much. How are you? It's good to see your face.
Oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. I just wanted to tell everybody how we know each other.
Okay.
And, being in Las Vegas for a long time, you and I go back a ways. I mean, we haven't, like you said before, we haven't done a lot of shows together,
Mhm.
but you know what we have done together is a lot of corporate work.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And so for people who don't know, that's a one night, one evening only, where it's a show format or it's a gathering of performers to meet and greet and entertain the people. So it's ironic that I feel like I know you so well, and I felt like I spent so much time with you, but we've just crossed paths over the years, but never really had a full show that we've been able to spend more than just one evening together in each other's company. But I feel like
Yeah.
I've known you forever.
I know. And well, we have a lot in common, and I think when you're in town for a long time, you do cross paths with people a lot and eventually, get to know each other. And I've always respected you as such an amazing talent.
Well, thank
And, you also run a business. Why don't you tell us about some of the amazing headline shows in Las Vegas that you've done?
Absolutely. I mean, as a kid, it was only a dream that I could have even thought of doing something like this because it wasn't something that I grew up into, getting lessons and dance lessons and singing lessons. So it was more of a pipe dream. But I ended up in my 20s being able to perform in Legends in Concert, to
Mhm.
headline at Folies Bergère. So when they, for the first time, I think it was in 15 or 17 years, they were changing over the show at the
Mm.
Tropicana Las Vegas. And
Mm.
they were having this audition for new singers. And it was like, what? Here I was in my mid to late 20s and thinking, oh my gosh, I grew up watching this show and seeing this on the
Mhm.
Las Vegas Strip. And sure enough, I went and auditioned and they looked all over the country and I was the one that got to be chosen to the first time they changed the show in 1997 for like I said, 17 years, I think it was. It was
Oh,
pretty
that's
crazy.
amazing. And what was
So,
your
yeah.
role?
As the lead singer there, the lead
Mhm.
vocalist. And it was awesome because I worked with a guy named Ron Dakar who was the singer for quite a while in that show. I think he was there for at least 10 years previously, and so he was just a dream to work with. And so my first major, I had been in many production shows for 10 years
Mhm.
prior, traveling the world doing smaller productions in different cities throughout the US or internationally. And being in that like iconic show with the showgirls and coming down the stairs and having that experience with a cast of 65 plus techs, on top of it, it was, I mean, that show was on the show Vegas, right? So, I mean, you
Yeah.
saw it on TV in the 70s and the early 80s, and, just to be a part of that iconic memory here in Las Vegas was quite something, and it was very special. I also headlined over at the Rio Show in the Sky when that was also a changeover show from a company out of LA, and it was a real
Mhm.
fun, hip, new, great choreography show at the Rio that was also pretty special to be a part of with a very special cast.
It was an amazing, and that show lasted for so long, and I remember seeing you in that so many times. It's so funny because, you're up there doing it. You probably had no idea that somebody like myself was out there. And that's
No.
that's what's so amazing about entertainment is we have no idea who we're going to be performing for next, you know?
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that truth? And that was actually towards the end of my entertainment career. So when I got into Show in the Sky, I was 38 years old when I got hired, and I actually wasn't going to do another production show. I was done. I was
Mm.
not going to do something like that. And I had been doing Legends for several years and doing my own show with my own band. I had been
Oh,
opening for
cool.
Don Rickles for 6 years. I had already worked with Wayne Newton. I'd already done so much stuff, and I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not going into another show. You know, trying to fit into costumes. And for all y'all who understand what I'm talking about, at 38 and 40, trying to fit into costumes and wear high heels, for me, it wasn't easy. And so I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. And this is what was really special. So Doug
Mm.
Johnson was the producer of this show in E Plus Productions.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going and auditioning for him. And this is the power of knowing what you want and knowing what you don't want and knowing what
Mm.
you will and won't accept. So
Okay.
I went into that audition and they had searched everywhere. They hadn't found anybody. In fact, James Vaughn, who was the co-star at that time,
Mm-hmm.
called me and said, "Jen, we've been looking for you. I just moved. It was in 2008. I mean, not everybody was always online, and we didn't have iPhone. Oh, we had iPhones, but it wasn't with email then. So it just wasn't common to constantly be connected unless you were in corporate.
Sure.
And so I hadn't checked my email in like a week, and so I just finally hooked up my computer, and I got Cox turned on finally, whatever. And I hooked up my computer, and I saw these emails, and I see James trying to get a hold of me, like, "Girl, where are you? We've got these auditions, and we can't find a singer. You're the one that needs to be doing this." And I was like, "What?" And I had just been doing, like I said, corporate work. I think I was in a band at the Bellagio at the Fontana Room at the time. And
Mm.
so I called him. I'm like, "What's going on?" He said, "Girl, this producer's ready to leave. They're leaving at 7 o'clock tonight." It was 3 o'clock. He said, "If you can get
Oh
here in
my
an
gosh.
hour," right? He said, "If you can get here in an hour, they'll look at you. You audition for them, and I know you're the one." I was like, "James, dude, I haven't showered in 2 days. My hair was a mess. Right? I'm unpacking. I'm moving. I'm just taking this time off to get myself
Oh
settled."
my gosh.
He goes,
Worst
"Girl, throw
time
your
ever.
right." He
And
goes,
you know
"Throw
what?
your
It
hair
seems like auditions and things like that always come at those inopportune
always,
times. It's like, why is
always."
this such a challenge?
Right. And so, and like I said, I always struggle to keep my weight down. And so I also gained 10 pounds, whatever. I'm not caring at this point. And so I'm like, "Oh my," she goes, "I don't know, throw something on, put your hair in curlers and come down." So literally I changed clothes, found something that wasn't wrinkled and that looked good. And I got in my car. Oh, I threw my hair in rollers. So I was heating up the rollers, threw my hair in hot rollers, driving down the street to the Rio Hotel, literally in valet, taking my hair out of the curlers, and so I could like have it set, all the way to 30 minutes to the Rio Hotel. And I go inside and I go into the Shinta's that time, the old Shinta
Mm-hmm.
showroom. And so I walk in and James is waiting for me, and I've got the sound guy there, and he's got the microphone. He has my music. And so we're waiting for Doug Johnson and his team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to James, he's telling me about the show, and in walks Doug Johnson, and all he said was, "Hit it." And so they started the music. Mid-sentence, I'm like turning and starting to sing to Doug Johnson. And so he comes down to the floor, and it was a very interactive, sexy show. So he needed a singer that could work a chair and work a person and be comfortable with that. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm singing Lady Marmalade to him, and
Oh my
he's
gosh.
he like grabs a chair, he sends it to me, and he's like, "Work the chair." I'm like, "Okay." And so
With
he's
nobody in it?
with nobody in it. And like,
Oh,
okay. So then he goes and sits down in it, and he's like, "Just, play with me, do something, like that's fun and entertaining." And I'm like, "Okay." And so he stops the song halfway through, and I was like, "Okay, what?" And he goes, "Okay, come here." I said, "What?" He said, "Look, okay, so we start in a month. Rehearsals begin here, and this is what, we're doing, and this is what the pay is and everything." And I was like, "Okay, okay." And then this is the pinnacle point is I said, "Just so you know, I'm not losing any weight. If I don't fit the costumes, you'll have to get the costumes that fit me." I
I
said,
love you. That's great.
"Right?" And he said, "I want you exactly as you are." He said, "I want a woman who looks like a woman. I don't want you to be anything other than who you are. You're perfect for the show. This is what I need for, you were the missing piece." And so I was like, okay. So I was able to go into this show feeling great at my age at the time, which, and only, I'm 38 is not old.
Mm-hmm.
You start to feel a little old, and both in the body and in the mind, in through entertainment. And so, he made me feel amazing. Like I walked into the right situation, and I
Mm.
felt good about going into it. And that taught me so
Mm.
much because it allowed me to start doing that everywhere, in every single business situation and every single relationship, saying, "Here I am. This is what I need. And if that's not okay, then that's okay, but maybe this isn't for me." And so
Mm-hmm.
understanding what you wanted rather than trying to being something that you weren't to fit into what worked, brought so much more ease to my life. And so that was a really big healing moment on so many levels. And plus, it was a great flipping show, and we
Yeah.
had an incredible incredible time there. So that was from like 2008 to 11, and I left when I got married. So
Mm.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting to hear about. And You're so right about this whole persona thing that we go through as entertainers, and how we either feel inadequate or not right for the part and things like that. And I've felt that way myself, and then walked in the door and got the job. So you never know what people want. And
No,
also there's a power, and I know you're into this, but there's a power behind being who you are and not having a feeling of lack.
yeah,
And that projects. So no matter what it is that you are, they want it.
that's exactly
So
right.
that's a great way
And they
to.
may not have known it. And so I think there's a lot to be said there. I love that you just mentioned that, is that, you just need to show up, because you oftentimes people say, "Oh, I'm not what they want. Oh, I'm not what they need," but you don't know. Sometimes they don't know until they see you, right? I mean, if I would have
Yeah,
been,
that's
no,
true.
I haven't showered. No, I've gained 10 pounds. No, I'm this. No, I'm that. No, I'm
Mm-hmm.
old, and I didn't show up, I would have missed the best 3 years in the last production show I'd have been in, and I would have missed an extraordinary opportunity. So don't decide for them. Show up and see what happens, right? Be
Yeah.
curious. Go ahead and just go into the experience. And that's really where and I think you're the same too, from what I know of your world, is that, who knows? Say yes and then see what happens. If it doesn't work out, you just change directions. If it doesn't work out, get off the freeway, turn around, go the other side. Like there's all these ways. We don't have to make a decision and go, "Oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing and this is where I have to go." You can just sit back, be curious, and experience. That's what life's about.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get several options too, and you don't know which way to go. And you can talk yourself out of things, but like you say, it might have been the best experience. And not only was that a good experience for you, but you being in that role might have made that show a certain way that was so special. So I think it's great, that you took the bull by the horns and just went for it. You probably didn't even realize you'd get the job.
Oh, absolutely not. But I thought, why not? Let me just go. Let me see what it's about. And also to going in for, at least for entertainers, right? Going in with abundance. There is always an option. There's always something different. And so even if we don't know at that moment what's coming down the pike, you can turn a corner and it's a whole different world. It's just like turning a corner in a neighborhood. All of a sudden, the whole neighborhood changes. And so you just have to keep walking forward with faith and with hope and with confidence and taking that leap, and then knowing, okay, something totally different is going to happen tomorrow, but not letting little setbacks or little disappointments throw us, because if we do that, it blocks the miracles that are waiting for us down the way. So really
Hmm.
about, staying strong and knowing who you are, and knowing that not everything is meant for you. Not everything is meant for me. I've had many disappointments. I've had many rejections. Oh my God, so many,
Mm, mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
it's about staying connected to your heart, to your spirit, to your faith, whatever that is, and
Mhm.
knowing that this wasn't for you, and what is for you is coming, and just being patient.
Yeah, and I just wrote a blog about something that you just sparked that makes me realize that if you go into an audition and you don't get the job, you're still meeting someone and showing them what you do offer. And if you're not right for that position, they'll think of you down the road. Or you might go audition for somebody two times, and then the right role is there, and they'll go, I want Jennifer,
Yep.
because they remember who you were because you did show up a couple of times.
Yeah, and that actually happened with Blair Farrington. So I showed up
Mm.
when, so Entertain E Plus got Show on the Sky in 2008. Blair had it first, with Farrington Productions. I can't remember what year they started, 2001 or two, whatever it was. And I went and auditioned for that at that time. It just wasn't, I wasn't yet ready, and it wasn't right for me. But I went through the whole process. Well, it was the first time I met Blair, and the love sweetheart that he is, and it just wasn't for me, and those costumes weren't for me. Like the whole thing just wasn't my vibe. It really wasn't,
Mm.
what would fit me. I wouldn't fit the show for him.
Mm.
And however, because I went, even though it wasn't right for me, I went for the experience, just for the
Mhm.
experience. He called me a couple years later. He said, "I've got a project. You're perfect for it.
Mhm.
You're the one that I want." Didn't audition, didn't anything. He put it together, and it was a thing, an act called Divas Undercover that we did for corporates, and I did it with two other amazing women. And actually, we was about five of us that would interchange depending on availability. And I did
Mm-hmm.
that in 2003 or four, all the way up until, gosh, I think recently, like maybe 4 years ago, something like that. And so, over time, and one of the funnest things ever. So that one thing wasn't for me, but like you said, he called me for what was right for me, and it was a great experience. And we're dear friends today. So you never know.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me about some amazing experience that you've had with someone famous, or just an incredible, performance that you've had the opportunity to give.
I've had several,
I
and I
bet.
think I mean, performing with Wayne Newton was pretty magnificent, and watching him, a master like him,
A
work
legend. Yeah.
what he did. And this is a couple of things I learned from him, is that I would watch him afterwards in the meet and greets, and I'll tell you, he was, which every performer should learn to acquire within themselves, both professionally and personally, is that he never met a stranger. Even if he didn't remember who they were, which probably 90% of the time he didn't remember who they were, he
Mm-hmm.
acted like he did. And like it was
Mm,
so wonderful to see you. And he made you feel special, like there was nobody else in the room. And that was,
that's true. I've actually met him a couple of times, and he did make me feel like that. I felt like I was at one with him. Like,
yep, yep,
how to see? I did. I felt like he knew me,
yep.
and I don't think I had ever met him before. So that is so weird. Yeah,
What
interesting.
So that's how you feel with him. And it's just like, I think it was Maya Angelou that says, people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And so that's
Mm,
powerful. Think about it. And so that was amazing for him. But then also, when I was opening for Don Rickles and traveling with him, I was always so, Mr. Rickles, and he's like, stop, stop, kids, stop, and I was told that, I was told to be very reverent with him. Of course I would be, because I respected him, but I would perform for 30 minutes with his 13-piece orchestra, and then he'd come out and do his thing. And
mm,
after a few times, he's like, kid, which he always called me, he's like, slow down, just take your time. This is your,
mm,
and so I had to really work on that, because that, even though I was in my 30s at that time and I had been performing for 15, 20 years, I still needed to really own that moment and that time, and to slow down was more powerful than to speed up. And so he
mm.
really helped me with flow of things. And so that was really amazing. Um,
That's great, because I think I have that problem as well. It's like you want to give your all, but you don't realize that sometimes your all is just like that one-on-one moment with maybe just one person in the audience that you can connect with.
exactly. And how powerful
Hmm.
that is.
Yeah.
So that was really amazing. But then also, which I know we'll get to, but now being out of entertainment, and I dabble a little bit. I sing here and there, and I speak here and there, but not full time like I used to. And I own
Hmm.
a speakers bureau, which is where I book speakers. So I'm behind the camera, behind off the stage, behind the computer, and I book speakers into conferences and events. And I've worked with several celebrities, which have been just really incredible to be able to experience. And to have those moments, and to have those times where you're like, oh my gosh, this is the icon that I've been watching or following. And I think one of my favorites was, I don't know if you might remember, maybe some of the younger ones don't, but there's a movie called Rudy. And
Mm-hmm.
Rudy, it was a story of a young boy who wanted to go to Notre Dame, and couldn't
Mm-hmm.
have the grades, and he wanted to play football. He was a great athlete, like all this stuff. It was a great story. If anybody wants to get inspired, watch the movie Rudy. It's amazing. Anyway, so I've worked with the real Rudy, and he's just an inspiration, and reminds
Oh,
me to stay
wow.
present. Yeah, he reminds me to remember he's like a kid, and
Mm-hmm.
reminds me to not get too serious about life. To stay with that. You know what? If things happen, and just go with the flow, and just keep that that triumphant spirit, and know that it's all going to work out, even if it doesn't look like it's going to work out now. And so I mean, just I've worked with so many. I could go on and on. I don't want to spend time on that, but I have so many incredible celebrities I've worked with that have just brought such inspiration and great learning to me.
That's amazing. So, about this amazing business that you have, how did you become inspired to do it? And tell
So,
us again the name of it, because I think your voice, the internet cut out a little bit.
oh shoot, so it's called National Keynote Speakers, was the business that I started here. And I happened to marry a motivational speaker. So I was kind of, what do you call it, indoctrinated into the business. Not,
Oh, yeah.
I just kind
But
of learned.
But I have to back up because you had always been doing emceeing and hosting and things. You've always been a what is the word? Kind of an expert up on the stage, giving these things. We have so many experiences like this in Las Vegas. We get to perform in front of a lot of people and do that. So is that kind of like it's sort of melded?
It did. It did. Well, it made sense. And so I understood obviously the presentation side because like you said, we're able to do that. And just even just our performer experience alone
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to understand, as an actor, as a performer, what a speaker needs to do to be great and
Mm-hmm.
what separates mediocre speakers from great speakers. And then, but understanding now what I didn't have, and this is where I had a lot of self-doubt. I was scared to death
Mm-hmm.
was so I barely graduated high school. I never went to college. I was a horrible student. I'm just not good. I have a terrible time writing. It's terrible. It's horrible. And even still
Hmm.
writing else today, it takes me forever to do it. It takes me forever to read it to make sure that I can understand it and comprehend it. It's bad. And it's
It's a
always been.
different language though. Somebody gives you a script and it's not something that we're familiar with too.
Well, somebody gives you a script. I can read a script like a champ. I mean, I can read a
Okay.
teleprompter like I've been saying it my whole life. Understanding and doing business in a corporate world with legal and the corporate language, I had such insecurity dealing with other people because I didn't feel as smart. And that was interesting because so as I went through this business and I started building this business, I realized that, oh, they don't always know what they're doing either. So they're pretending, that they're doing what they know how to do. And as I started seeing that, like it's almost like when you're a kid where everybody's nervous to meet each other, everybody's scared. Some people just hide it better. And I realized that's exactly the same thing with adults, and that's exactly the same thing in business.
So amazing. I mean, this is the big thing about life that it's like if you know this secret, you can go ahead and create a better life for yourself. But if this is something that you think that you're lesser than everyone else and everybody else has figured it out and everybody else has everything better, this is what holds us back, right?
Right. Exactly right. So understanding that and seeing that as I move forward, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was, shooting from the hip, trying to figure out contracts and filing digitally, and working with this and cold calling. I was a singer. I wasn't a salesperson. So I'm having to learn all this stuff. Literally, I would leave a message on somebody's phone 10 times because you know how you can leave a message and then listen to it and go, oh, that doesn't sound good, and erase and re-record. So I was doing it all the time because I was like, oh, that sounds stupid. Okay, so
It's called rehearsing.
exactly.
You knew how to do that.
I did. So I do it a couple of times until it sounded good. But then there's sometimes where you press a button and they're like, okay, message sent. And you're like, no, because I thought it was going to be right.
uh,
So you have
so
those moments,
funny.
but then you just kind of know that you go with the flow. And I got better over time. I was very wonky in the beginning. I got better over time. I got more organized over time. I got better. And now 6 years into it. So I started this in 2015, and 6 years into it, I mean, people that I work with people in the industry have been doing it for 30 years. And when they find out that not only have I only been in the industry for six, but I never went to college and I wasn't trained by anybody, and I just kind of figured it out myself, they're blown,
Mm,
right? And all I did was look at previous experiences and and look at what I had to offer and bring that into what I was doing. What am I good at? Not how can I be like other people? Because that's where people get in trouble,
mm,
right? Not comparing
yeah.
yourself to other people, but what do I have that can help
Hmm.
make me successful? And I knew that I loved helping people, and I like holding people's hands from beginning to end. I like making people feel comforted and secure, even if I wasn't. Like sometimes I didn't know what I was doing,
Hmm.
but that customer service or that concierge style service is what made my business great, and that's what kept my clients coming back year after year. And that's what I saw. And I was actually being shopped by like a consumer reporter type thing, and they were doing this research on the industry. And
Mm-hmm.
I went to this big meeting with all of these bureaus and agencies, and they were talking about how these agencies needed better customer service. And they're like, everybody failed in this place except for one, and they wouldn't say the company, but they were talking about this company. I was like, oh, that's awesome! Like, how cool! I want to be like them, and I love the sound of that. And so afterwards, after this meeting, it was like a little networking cocktail thing. And this guy's name is Peter Sheehan. He's a brilliant business speaker, internationally known. And and I introduced myself and I'm like, oh, Peter, that was amazing. Thank you so much. He goes, oh my God, you're the one. I go, I'm the one what? He goes, you're the one bureau that's doing it right. Like us, I was talking about your business.
Oh my gosh.
What? And so by following your heart and being you, and just like what you said earlier, by being your authentic self, not trying to be like anybody else, you'll succeed no matter what. Like really working on that and finding out what that is for you, nothing can take it away from you. And you'll always find your path, right?
I love that. I love that. Well, will you tell us something that people might not know about you?
Oh gosh. Okay. Let's see. Well, and I think some people know. You all know that I lost 100 pounds at 18 years old, right?
That's
So,
amazing.
so I grew up overweight and non-athletic and didn't move my body, and I was didn't I kind of nourished myself, my emotions with food, and did all that and did it with food, and it was a long journey to try to figure out how to do that for myself without using ice cream and chips.
That's
And
amazing. At 18 to be able to accomplish that too, just says a lot.
well, what's interesting is that it was the physical. Like I was able to lose the weight in a year, but it's the mental that took a long time, and then the spiritual. That was the journey, and that's definitely the lifelong journey is to find that self love and that self soothing, and
Hmm.
finding that through your connected spirit, rather than through the outside world. Finding value within rather than finding value outside, and so that's the journey. And maybe you can see I've got a chakra thing behind me, and I've got a lotus flower salt lamp and things. And so, as
Hmm.
well as my business now with the Speakers Bureau, I teach yoga. And so I have a yogic journey that I'm on, and I teach about 4 or 5 classes a week and meditation and such. And so I kind of integrate all of those teachings and my experiences with the yoga. So yeah, it's
I
about,
can't wait to take your class, by the way.
I want you to take my classes, and I'm actually going to start teaching some online. So I'm
Oh,
going
I
to
hope so.
people outside of Las Vegas that want to come, or people who aren't comfortable yet coming into a yoga studio, and we really work on it's. I'm such a mindfulness practice.
You utilize like more of an energy than a strength. And that's all up here. And that's what I found fascinating about yoga. And I didn't realize that. I mean, I've been doing yoga for like 25 years, but I had never understood why, and that's a pretty amazing thing. And knowing that you're in control of that power or that ability to do it.
So, like you said, it's not about the physical postures, and there's a variation for each posture, as many as there are people in the world. And so, yoga is a
Mm,
unique thing to each person. So, what I mean, I'm very flexible, and there are things that I can't do that somebody who's not as flexible can do.
hmm.
So it's really individual to the body, and it's really about the breath and the movement combined. So, focusing on the
Hmm.
breath, working with the movement. It's about aligning the body and the spirit and calming the mind. And so really it's about taking that mindfulness centeredness that's on the mat and taking it outside of the mat so that you can bring that mindfulness practice to your world, whatever's
And
happening.
that's what it did. I totally noticed that it helps you get through things. And I noticed that being on stage after I had learned the practice, that I was able to utilize that inner balancing, idea of just kind of like getting rid of the stress or the fright or whatever it is, and just kind of like
Right? Yeah.
locking in and becoming, solid,
Right.
calming. Yeah. And you know what else happened, that I thought was exciting was I've never been a deep breather. I just kind of I feel like I just exist and I don't even know if air is coming out. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
after, practicing yoga, I noticed that I was breathing. It was a conscious thing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm breathing. I never knew I breathed."
Yes. So on that note, I love that you said that because most people don't breathe, and
Thank
most
you.
people
I now I don't feel weird because that
no,
whole thing made me feel
no, no.
weird.
Yeah, no, no, no. Most people shallow breathe and just with their
Hmm.
chest. they don't deep breathe. And so what happens is if you shallow breathe, it gets the body into more of an anxiety and into more like a chest up, head up type of experience rather than a grounded experience. And so that's another thing that yoga brings is that awareness of your breath, taking full inhales and full exhales and full inhales. You need the oxygen. And so when we have that shallow breathing or when we're like anxious or we're in fear or we're frustrated, notice your breath at that point. Just take an awareness and notice that, oh my gosh, I'm not breathing deep. Okay. And then take a few breaths as you inhale, expand the lungs, have a nice deep breath, and then exhale. And so do that a couple of times, and all of a sudden it calms the body and calms the nerves. And you're exactly right. I mean, we just don't breathe. And that's common. I mean, I'm a yoga teacher. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I still find myself in those places, right? Because you're just sitting and you're doing your thing. And I have to
Yeah.
take myself out and I have to mindfully make myself breathe to reset the body. And you can reset in a second. And also that's when you get tired too. So in the afternoon, because when you get that afternoon dip,
Mm-hmm.
water and breathe. You don't have to have caffeine or chocolate. You can have just the hydration and the breath that helps you reinvigorate the body and the mind and bring that calmness. Because that's what it is. It's because the mind's going so fast, and
Mm-hmm.
your breathing gets so fast and so shallow. It's really slowing down the mind, slowing down the breath. And this is really good for performers who are watching this. So
Mm-hmm.
getting entertained, just like you said, it made your shows better, right? When you started taking yoga,
Oh,
because
completely.
you allowed yourself to ground, you allowed yourself
Mm-hmm.
to connect. We as performers, especially if we've grown up with this, like da 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 da, and you're like, look at me, this is what I can do. I'm gonna make you look great. And look at how I sound, and look at how I move, and look at how I play.
Right.
Um, rather than getting connected,
Mm-hmm.
really grounding down, because that's when your most powerful performances are going to be, is when you're in that space. And it's like what they call being in the zone. I mean, that's really what it is. It's being in that perfect alignment where you're
Mm.
unstoppable, because they say for sports they're playing out of their mind, which is true, because they're not in their mind, they're in their heart and they're in their body. And
Mm.
that's when you can have your best anything in entertainment, in sports, in business. It's coming from that place. So yeah, so lots of good stuff. I mean, as you can see, I've had a big interesting journey over time, right? And
Yes.
there's it's not over. There's another chapter. I just turned 50 in January, so it's really having that, okay, now what? Okay, what's happening next? And what's next for me in my next chapter. So I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Great things moving forward in 21 and ultimately in 22 by the time I'm done with some of my certifications in education. So I'm in some deep programs to start doing some coaching, Ayurveda, being certified as an Ayurvedic
Ooh.
practitioner. Yeah. And so being able to incorporate yoga and Ayurveda and Vedic astrology, which will be fun to do with people. Um,
Nice.
I do that on the weekends. So that's my weekend. I teach, I practice, I do private clients. And so that's my like Friday through Sunday experience. And then I do my business during the week. So
Oh, I love it. I love it because then it kind of brings you back to balance. And, it sounds like you might be a healer. I know that sounds strange and kooky to the masses, but I totally can connect with that. And I feel like that you've got that gift.
thank you. Thank you. It feels really good. And I'm tapping into that now a little bit more and paying attention to that a little bit more. I think it's been knocking on my door for a while and I've been like,
Hmm.
no, I'm busy performing or I'm busy this. And now I think it's time that I open the door and let it in. So moving down that path.
Well, I think that COVID sort of brought an overall consciousness to the world about what is it that we need? Here's what we do. This is all the stuff that we do. But what is it that we need and what is the base survival? And I think it opened a lot of doors for people about things that were kind of hidden in the past and sort of under a rock, and they exposed themselves, good or bad, but and then there was the whole learning thing from it all as well.
Very much so. It allowed us to, well, so we talk about yoga and calming the mind, slowing down, and that's what we did. That's what we did through 2020, right?
Yes,
We
we
slowed
did.
down, we
Mm-hmm.
focused on the mind, which allowed us to think. And it was scary for a lot of people because we don't want to think.
Mm-hmm.
Because along with our dreams come our fears and our nightmares. And so, it's
Mm-hmm.
really about knowing that this is an illusion. This is the past. This is stuff that's not the truth. And moving forward
Mm.
with our dreams and going, okay, great. Now I have this maybe clean palette. Where am I going to jump off from here? What am I going to paint on this blank canvas? Where is my springboard? Where am I going to go from here? And it's been a great opportunity for a lot of people. A lot of people have been, have completely changed their lives, changed their industries, their businesses, or just changed jobs. They weren't happy and now they're doing something different, or, whatever, so many different stories. And a lot of blessings came out of this time if people were courageous enough to look at it and sit with it.
Yeah, or forced to, like the entertainment industry. I
Yeah, right.
mean,
Well, but still, you have the people that were forced to, but did they really look? Did they,
yeah, I mean,
right?
there's,
They binge watching Netflix all day long, or did they really get introspective? Did they really take an opportunity to get a course to learn something different? What did they do with that time that was given to them?
mhm,
There was a lot of forced situations here and a lot of tragedy, and so many people were not in the place to be able to take off this time and live on unemployment because it's not enough to live on.
mhm,
There's so many issues here, and it's a great time to look at. I know I had to do this. I had to look at my life and go, okay, where was I not prepared for this?
mhm,
Where was I sailing and not doing the things that I needed to do to prepare myself for a situation like this? Okay, I need to get my ducks in a row. I need to
mhm,
plan my life. I need to clean up, my house or my closet or whatever. And
mhm,
get to that place and go, okay, because really the power in and the gift in an emotion of shame or depression or something like that is accountability and then taking action, because you're
mhm,
never going to get forward if you don't take accountability with it. Remember, we're all involved in every situation that we are in. If we're present, we're involved. Even if we think something's happening to us, we're always involved somehow, some way. So either by being affected by it, not having a certain grounding to where we can, not be affected by what's happening. We're human. Things are going to happen to us, and things happen in life where it gets us sad or upset or depressed, and tragedy happens. There's no question.
mhm.
How do we recover, right? How do we move through it? How do
Yeah,
we overcome? How do we prevail? And so it's really about that, and the steps that we do to take and to get there. Does that make
that's
sense?
awesome. Yeah, I loved it. I love it. Why don't you do a little bit of an outline about the things that you do that people can connect with you on, the things that you offer, and where they would connect with you on those things?
Great question. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so please feel free to message me there. I will be starting to send out my links to my YouTube channel for yoga. I'm starting a yoga business, and it was going to be in person in a brick and mortar, but with everything, I decided to wait. They had a location and everything, but when we went down to the 25%, I thought, well, maybe I'll just wait on this one. And I'd like to wait until the masks are also,
Mm-hmm.
the mask mandate is removed so that people feel, yoga is about the breath. And,
Mm,
I know it feels better for people to do that. So, but I am doing yoga online and meditation. So I'll start releasing that probably in about 2 weeks. So I'll be sending it
great.
out through Facebook and Instagram, and it's called Harmony Yoga. And so keep an eye out for that. And you can always reach me on any social media platform. Jennifer Lier, Lier. I'm Jennifer Joseph Lier on Facebook, Jennifer_Lier on Instagram. And so reach out, say hi, connect, and stay connected.
That sounds great. I thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. It's been fun, and what a great opportunity to share. And I love that you've been doing this, bringing inspiration to our fellow performers. It's been a really hard road for everybody. It's been a difficult time for many. And I know that shows like yours and inspirations like yours have really brought some lightness and some good things to our hearts. So thank you for doing this, and thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. All right. So you know where to reach Jennifer. Please follow us both. I'm at On the Edge of Entertainment on YouTube, and Is Yo Biz Showbiz is my business. And that's at yobizshowbiz.com. And you can reach me also at Facebook and Instagram there. So thank you so much, Jennifer. And I hope to speak with you soon.
Me too.
Okay.